All right, man. Torture Talk. Like, share, subscribe to the page. Hit the thumbs up button if you like the content. Got my Bretts on today, my Bret Harts. You know what I'm saying? Greatest there ever was, greatest there ever is, and the greatest there ever will be. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Bret Hart, man. I got my Bret Harts on today. All right, so look, man. Today we're gonna be talking about Jack Harlow. Is he essential to hip hop or non-essential? Like, what's going on here? Before I get into that, gotta get my spill. This is Torture Talk. If you like the content, please consider subscribing if you're not subscribed. All the beautiful ladies, put one in the chat. All the fellas, y'all know where to find the ones at. They called me the hidden gem. I went from 1,300 subscribers to over 8,000. I'm trying to reach 20,000 by the end of the month, and I could do it. You know what I'm saying? Also, too, if you like the content, hit the like button, hit the notification bell, too. If you want to donate, links will be on the screen. Cash App, PayPal is in the description. Also, if you don't want to donate, or you say, nigga, I ain't giving you no fucking money. You crazy. I ain't giving you shit. You know what I'm saying? Then, yeah, it's cool, too. You ain't got to give up no money. I'm going to go with that over here. So, look, man, I don't sell no merch, but I do have content. And that's free. So, let me know where you're from, too. So, let's get right into the video, man. I ain't going to do too much stopping. You know what I'm saying? All right, so this is the 6 o'clock show. Good evening, everybody. So look, hope you're having a good evening. We're going to get right into it. Let's go.
Jack Harlow is stuck between a rock and a hard place. Commercially successful yet not celebrated, cherished by non-hip-hop fans but overlooked by rap's hardcore fan base, he finds himself in a spot that may be uncomfortable but is in no way unfamiliar. For decades now, white rappers have always tried to make their mark on the culture and be taken as seriously as black rappers. But more often than not, they find themselves frozen in time at the point of their greatest hit. And for the most part, the only way is down. Because when they're not seen as bringing anything new to the culture and are just rehashing the current trendy sound, i.e. Ian, Lil Maboo, etc., then it's incredibly easy for them to get forgotten. Yet because they often get more attention than black rappers who are in the same lane and often make more compelling music, it makes people suspicious of them. And if we know one thing about hip-hop fans, it's that they don't like being spoon-fed an artist by the industry. This, in essence, is what separates an Eminem from a G-Eazy, or an LP from a Snow, or perhaps a Mac Miller from a Jack Harlow himself, as in the years that have followed the release of what should have been his breakout.
I get that, but again, Jack Harlow's kind of fire, I ain't gonna lie. He's kind of fire. Like, hey, I'm sorry. I don't know what y'all talking about, where y'all at with it, but that dude is pretty fire. And if he writes his own raps, yeah, his pen is pretty good. Like, I like Jack Harlow's pen. Let's go.
Album in 2022's Come Home, The Kids Miss You, the charismatic Kentucky rapper has had a strange road to walk. Because on the one hand, he's a perfectly passable rapper, and by all accounts, seems like a good guy. But the problem is that when the industry happened to come across this pale-skinned MC with a radio-friendly approach to songwriting and enough riz to spawn viral content online, they inevitably saw dollar signs. And at this point, he fell into the trap that's all too familiar for white rappers. When Jack was on the come up, he was a rapper who seemed to have organically garnered his audience, as he'd been rapping since he was a kid. As a result, there was no reason for anyone to feel like he was an industry plant or that he was a threat to the status quo of hip-hop. But as the hit singles racked up...
What does that mean, though? Industry plant. I need to understand a proper meaning of industry plant. Y'all mean by somebody that the industry put there and manufactures them and make them into a superstar? Is that an industry plant? Because if hip hop is a business, then how could y'all be mad at an industry plant? Because most hip hop artists, a good portion of them, they want to make money. And I think some hip hop artists, they want to make money, but they also want to still stay tied to the streets or whatever where they came from. So I get that, but at the same time, I'm like, well, you only can go one or two ways. You know what I'm saying? You can't be in the streets and be a superstar. It doesn't work. Something's gonna happen, whether it's positive or negative? You gonna go the positive route and keep going that way, or you gonna go back to the negative route? Because there's a lot of artists that we know who stay connected to the streets. You know what I'm saying? And they were popular, but they stayed in the streets and they're still there. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know what an industry plan is. I don't know what they mean by that. It's like is it a manufactured artist that they put there? I'm trying to figure that out, but let's go.
This perception began to change, and as Sean C. argues, when it comes to Jack being accepted among the ranks of mainstream hip-hop, the success of What's Poppin' and later First Class was a gift and a curse that changed how the culture treated him. Suddenly thrust into a lane of megastars who attend fashion shows, Jack was on top of the world as he approached the release of Come Home, the Kids Miss You. So much so that in a 2022 interview with Rolling Stone, he basically told them that he was going to be the king of hip-hop. Being number one is what made Eminem so hard. He was in the dog pile. I want to be the face of my generation for these next 10 years. We need more people in my generation that are trying to be the best. And you can't do that with just ear candy, vibe records. You gotta come out swinging sometimes. A press run that hyped him up as though he truly was the next up, Jack clearly articulated the lead he thought he was in during every press obligation around that time. And that was one of the leaders of the new school.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. You know, you get pushed the same way that Cole, Kendrick, Drake, they were keeping each other in mind to some degree over the 2010s and pushing each other. Huge shout out to Doja. You have like Lil Baby. Lil Baby's amazing. I think Baby Keem has a massive trajectory. There's a lot of good ones.
However, what separates Jack?
I think what really happened to him is, and I think he kind of touched on it a little bit, he got put there too fast. He's a good MC. He's a great artist. But I'm guessing that that's what y'all mean by plant? Like somebody put there. Because I'm thinking, when I think plant, I'm thinking something negative, and I know I shouldn't be thinking it. But I'm going to figure out what that plant mean. I'm going to figure it out.
Harlow, from all the artists he mentioned, can't be understated. As with Doja Cat and Baby Keem especially, like them or hate them, they have a distinct sound that is unmistakably them. While when Come Home...
First of all, I don't understand how anybody's comparing Doja Cat to Jack Harlow. Like, she's super fire. And she does whatever, and her music is fire. It's not like, that's not even a comparison. She has, 6 albums or 5 albums or something like that? That's not even a comparison. But I understand what you're going for. I'm going to keep going.
When The Kids Miss You dropped, the sound was so middle of the road that it was hard to pin down his identity at all. Reviewed by Pitchfork in their scathingly negative review as a one-trick pony without a discernible trick.
That's true. Now, that's 100% true. Now I'm starting to understand more by what they mean by industry plant. That's 100% true. That album right there, although he has some great raps, it sounds like every other album. It sounds like a Drake album. You know what I'm saying? Just more. It sounds like a rapping version of a Drake album. Like if Drake was the rap, that's what that Jack Harlow album sounded like to me. Like if Drake did the whole album, rapping.
Same review would go on to describe him as a competent rapper who doesn't flow intricately or write impressively, and a pop star who struggles to carry a song on his own. Ouch. With the album pretty much getting trashed across the board and underperforming commercially in terms of sales, Jack had a project that sold upwards of 100,000 units. But at what cost? Well, for those who never saw the hype or our previous video about Jack Harlow, which you should probably check out before this video, it just cemented their perception of him. Basically, that he wasn't great, nor was he terrible. He was just another white rapper in a sea of white rappers who never truly found a sense of who they are as an artist.
For most of 2022, Jack Harlow was inescapable. He was on at least 2 top hits that I feel like happened last year. There was countless discourse about him online. He won a BET award, made a movie, hosted a college football show, and then quickly laid an egg with his subsequent major release before then disappearing.
But again, this is all subjective. Like, the album did sound like the Drake album, but it wasn't trash. That's how I look at it. The album wasn't a bad album. It wasn't super good either. But the way y'all making it seem like the album was terrible, like it was terrible. Again, y'all be judging these rappers through a different lens. And when it come to other artists, y'all give them a pass. You know what I'm saying? That's what I don't like about this. I don't like that y'all do that. Y'all give these other artists a pass, and y'all don't say, and then y'all have a nerve to get mad at Anthony Fantano for him being hard on all artists or all music that he's hard on or whatever if it's not good. I don't get that. You know what I'm saying? I don't get that. I don't get it.
Regroup and figure out what the went wrong. It was an immense musical anticlimax that I think a lot of people saw coming, but more and more people were happy to see happen. Something about Harlow's rise to fame rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. It was a bit of a paradox though, because while Harlow had so much fanfare and hype as well as hate, his actual music was just mid. It was like perfectly in the middle and disposable, which is probably why he did.
See, and again, this is these over criticisms of these artists, but y'all don't do that with every artist. It's unbelievable to me that y'all do this. It's unbelievable that y'all would critique him to the max, but these other artists, y'all don't really say too much about. Y'all just say, oh, it's good. That's it. If you ask me, Jack Harlow is a lot of artists that I think is detrimental to hip hop. He's not one of them, if you ask me.
Go anywhere, but it didn't make sense that he had so much hype and hate in the first place.
Rejected as the next Drake, Jack tried to reclaim this identity with his next project, Jackman. A grittier, minimal, back-to-basics project, this album was received far better than Come Home, the Kids Miss You. But even then, people felt like they knew why he created the album in the first place. And that was the negative response to his attempts to go fully mainstream. And even then, Pitchfork didn't go any easier on him, stating that trends and other people's opinions mold his records. The internet said he was too cornily commercial, so for the duration of this album, he positions himself as a very serious rapper. Still, although
Okay, so what is he supposed to do? If that's who he is, he went back to who he was, right? Unless y'all saying that that's not who he was. You know what I'm saying? I know I'm supposed to be debating with Pitchfork. I'm supposed to be listening to the album, but listening to the dude. But still, you know what I'm saying? I think some of these outlets they look for reasons to say something is bad. You know what I'm saying? They don't care about actually the music and what he's saying. If the music is good, why do you care about his personal life when it comes to that? You know what I'm saying? Unless he's a, PDF. But outside of that, why do you care? You know what I'm saying? Is the music good? Was the songs fire? That's what matters. But you guys be critiquing everything when it comes to certain artists because you don't like that he came into the game, whether he was a plant or not. So you feel like if he was a plant, there's an orchestrated attempt to take him down. Yeah, let's run that back a little bit. Let's go.
This album was received far better than Come Home, the Kids Miss You. But even then, people felt like they knew why he created the album in the first place. And that was the negative response to his attempts to go fully mainstream. And even then, Pitchfork didn't go any easier on him, stating that trends and other people's opinions mold his records. The internet said he was too cornily commercial, so for the duration of this album, he positions himself as a very serious rapper. Still, although the project was generally better received by hip-hop, it muddied the waters as to who his audience truly was. Because for those who might have loved what was being served up on Come Home, the Kids Miss You, this was likely a curveball for them. And more than likely, it was viewed the same way by his record label, who didn't put anywhere near the same promotional push behind the project.
Yeah, that's why this is weird to me. He just sold way too many records and they put way too much money in him just now, and he did all right. I know you have to spend money to get a return, and this is silent. This is quiet, so I would be interested to see. This sound like less than 30,000 copies.
Just as Joe predicted, the album debuted at number 8 on the charts with just 33,000 sales. Yet, without dwelling on it for too long or even touring his new album, Jack would be ushered back into the commercial lane with a song that took 6 songwriters to produce. Released just 7 months after Jackman.
Digging a hole for yourself, Jack. It's like, come on, bro. It's like, now I understand what they mean by mainstream plant. It's like you got the look, you got the appeal, you got the aesthetic, you got the voice, you got the raps. And they put you in a position where they can manufacture you and have people write for you, and you just got to perform it. So I understand now what the industry plan is. I guess they're out there really manipulating the fans to buy the music. I mean, I guess. I don't know. I'm guessing that's what it is.
didn't spawn a single hit, Lovin' On Me became a #1 without anyone really understanding what happened. A catchy, radio-friendly pop tune, its rise was so inconspicuous that Yassine rightfully declared that it was the fakest #1 ever on Twitter. As for how he did it, the answer, as is always the case with Jack, is that it was nothing new. Instead, it was merely relying on a formula that had worked the last time he scored a chart-topping hit right down to its rollout. Definitely the sample, said Kyle Dennis.
Again, this is what I mean. Like, y'all critiquing these artists, and there's artists that does the same thing. I need to see if Billboard talks about Drake like this and Pitchfork talks about Drake like this, because artists do the same thing. They do the same thing. It's no different. A lot of them do the same exact thing. They rely on something that gets them a #1 hit. That's how it goes. Eminem did that. He relied on being controversial to get him a #1 hit, and he did it several times. You know what I'm saying? Some of these artists do the same exact thing. So for them to critique him and poke fun at him for doing this, like, it's crazy to me that y'all saying, oh, well, he did that thing, and it's really the sample that made it hot. Like, it don't matter why it was hot. It went #1. Obviously, he wanted that, and the record label wanted that. They want to make money. You know what I'm saying? Again, I'm not saying that they have to do that, but I'm just keeping it real. Like, that's what it is.
Billboard. That melody, coupled with a beat that feels familiar enough to recall Drake's The Motto, but distinct enough to feel like it's its own entity, makes for a track with several key components to latch onto. More importantly, like First Class, Lovin' On Me finds Jack rapping to the ladies, and there isn't much of that happening in rap music right now. Having used the same kind of TikTok marketing that helped make First Class a hit and focusing on his female fan base, Jack managed to put himself back on top, and the higher-ups at his record label, Atlantic, are likely celebrating.
I don't understand how y'all arguing this, though. That if the man did that to put himself on top, I mean, I don't understand why that's a big deal. Why is it a problem? I don't understand it. If you're speaking from a, because we're not talking from a hip hop perspective. We're talking from a popularity perspective or a mainstream perspective. Because we're talking from a hip hop perspective, I can understand why people would be upset about it. You know what I'm saying? But we're talking about mainstream. We're talking about people he competing with who are higher than him or who've been in the game for a long time. So yeah, of course he would have to do what he got to do to be the #1 guy. Use TikTok. Use all people like, oh, what? He used TikTok. So what? Who cares? He's trying to be #1 in the mainstream of things, not the underground, not the lower level artists. We're talking about, or not the artists that don't go down this path, but most of them do.
Considering how this formula paid off again, it seems highly unlikely that he'll be given the chance to do a record like Jackman again. Because whether he'd like to accept it or not, 3 #1s in 3 years means he's officially a cash cow in the eyes of record labels. But it isn't so much about Jack or his music itself, but because he fulfills a need that the music industry has, as whether they'd like to admit it or not, they're always seeking the next white superstar.
When it comes to like the mainstream point of view, most people are like, oh yeah, here's a new one. And they adopt kind of the hip hop style, add nothing to it, move from it, and people kind of forget about him. And then the next one comes in and do the same thing. With Jack Harlow, I think people look at him as so much more authentic because he is or comes across as such a nice dude. And he seems really respectful for the most part of other cultures and their demographic from what I've seen. Never have I seen that level of personality able to carry someone so far when the music is just so average. There's nothing about it that takes anything farther. I don't know what it is about white artists that just makes it so, yeah, this is the one. When there are a million other of the exact same of this guy that are black, that do the same thing and that do it better for the most part.
As opposed to being...
I disagree with that. You know what I'm saying? I think that if you're saying that they do it better, then it's not average. I understand where you're coming from, but if you're saying that they do it better, then it's not average. And you can't use the whole thing about the black and white thing. To me, you can't use that because there are artists that y'all celebrate that are way worse and trash than Jack Harlow. And y'all still say that they're all right. And y'all give them good scores. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying.
A white artist that just makes it so, yeah, this is the one. When there are a million other of the exact same of this guy that are black, that do the same thing and that do it better for the most part.
As opposed to being a conspiracy hypothesis, this is a well-documented thread throughout hip-hop history that began with Vanilla Ice. Because although he started out as just a white kid trying to step into a world where he was the outlier, Vanilla Ice's success taught the music industry a valuable lesson. And that was, if they wanted maximum profit and crossover appeal to middle-class white America who spent the most money, then a white figurehead was essential.
They embraced me, man. And my whole crowd was always...
I'm sorry for keep stopping it. I don't think that that's just that though, because middle of white America buys all hip hop, not just white artists. But let's keep it going.
Black. I never thought I'd ever play for white people until my music went #1. And when it went #1, I went from smaller crowds to huge stadiums. In rap music, it just hadn't been done like that before. So for me, I was just like, whoa.
With Ice Ice Baby, the music industry had pulled off a successful experiment and have tried to go back to the well ever since with questionable success. For Ice's part, he admitted back then that his success came to a certain level of manufacturing as well as his skin tone.
Yo, that dance is crazy, yo. Oh my God, bro. That dance is wild, bro. But we could say the same thing about MC Hammer. They was competing back then. If you want to say MC Hammer wasn't a plan, he was a gangster, but I mean, come on, bro. Come on, bro. Any of those artists back then that had on them big old pants and dancing across the stage, you're telling me that one is not a plant, but the other one is, they was trying to make money. That's what it's all about. These companies hire these people to make money. If they're not making no money, then that's it. But even with that being said, we could try to dance around it and say this thing about hip hop artists and all this stuff. But most of the things is most of these artists are being paid by these labels. They're trying to make money. That's just that. But let's keep it going.
Being white helps me, I guess, but I wish it didn't, he told the New York Times. My being white had something to do with it, but not much as they say it does. It depends on the contract you sign with the record company. They can make you #1 if they push you enough. But that didn't necessarily mean it was smooth sailing for Vanilla Ice, because while he was the most successful rapper of his ilk, he also set the precedent of being accused of co-opting the culture. Chewed out by Arsenio Hall for lying about his background, Vanilla Ice was one of many white rappers who'd come into hip-hop without ever truly advancing it. Instead, he towed the line of what was popular and reaped the rewards. And while he may have come into the game,
that's not his fault, because let's be clear here. I hate to rain on y'all parade. Most rappers are fake and liars. So obviously, I'm not saying that he followed in their footsteps, but if a lot of rappers are fake and liars and they're black, what do you think? A lot of rappers cosplay. And this is another thing that people don't want to admit. A lot of rappers are liars and they fake. A good portion of rappers don't do the things that they do. Never did. So you can't point the finger at this guy and say, well, you're faking and you never lived that life. But never say nothing to this guy over here who's been faking his whole career and never lived that life. He's not even from the hood. Come on, man.
with the best of intentions, ultimately, money talks.
I was 3 car payments behind on my 5.0, and I was 19 at that time. It was like I won the lottery, man. It's like, what do you want me to do? At that point, the hip-hop community had kind of labeled me a sellout. So I did. I sold out. I took the money. I sold way out. And I think anybody in my shoes would have done the same damn thing.
That's the realest thing. That's the realest thing I ever heard a rapper say. That's the realest thing I ever heard a rapper say. Yeah, I sold out. I seen that money and I sold out. And every rapper probably would do that. At least he's admitting it. You know what I'm saying? He's admitting it. And I'm not advocating for selling out. I'm just saying, I'm just keeping it objective. You know? Good evening, everybody. Good evening.
Viewed as a sellout to the same extent as Vanilla Ice, there's no denying that Jack is undergoing a process of corporatization. Suddenly given brand deals with Doritos, KFC, New Balance, and others, Jack even recently made the transition into acting with White Men Can't Jump. In some ways, a move that can be seen as his equivalent of Vanilla Ice's providing the soundtrack to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie with Ninja Rap. To make matters worse, he was suddenly being...
That's a reach. That's a reach. You saying that this guy he moved into movies. It's equivalent And if he's gonna be the guy in the movie, like the remake of White Men Can't Jump or whatever, I guess they got a new one. He's gonna be in the movie, the whole movie, versus a guy who did a rap for the soundtrack and did a video in the movie. Like, and then we talk about Ninja Turtles, bro. Like, come on, that's not like, yo, that's a reach. I'm sorry, that's a reach.
Compared to other people who transition from hip-hop to movies but aren't necessarily respected by the culture. And when he was hit with one comparison in particular, he didn't know how to respond.
Calmatic compares you to Mark Wahlberg, says you are going to be the next Mark Wahlberg. What does that mean to you, especially coming from somebody so talented and so great like Calmatic?
It feels real good, you know? I like Mark Wahlberg, so I'll take that.
Suddenly taken from being positioned next to Drake and calling himself...
That's another thing. The next Mark, come on, bro. Let's be serious here. The next Mark Wahlberg, get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. If we talk about rapping, Jack Harlow is much better than Mark Wahlberg, bro. Like, come on, bro. Stop. That's a reach, bro. Come on now.
The hardest white dude since the one with vomit on his sweater to being compared to Marky Mark, it's clear that whatever ideas Harlow has about himself and his place in hip-hop, the industry have other plans. Just look at the rollout for Lovin' on Me, where he previously visited the Breakfast Club and other spots like that. Jack didn't promote the single on the usual hip-hop media cycle. Instead, he appeared on the Call Her Daddy podcast, whose 5 million monthly listeners are predominantly white females. Because at the minute, this is what Jack Harlow is doing. He's taking mainstream hip-hop as it stands and repackaging it to be sold to an audience of women who thirst over him. He's not doing anything new, nor is he trying to...
Yo, that is exactly what your boy do, though. Like, bro, this is about making money. I don't understand why y'all acting as if, like, this is something wrong for him to do that. Oh, he don't supposed to do that. He don't supposed... Listen, hip-hop is global. Hip-hop has moved on. Hip-hop has become mainstream. You can't complain about the man trying to make money and being mainstream and then saying, oh, well, mainstream doesn't matter. But then say mainstream does matter. Number one hits matter. All this stuff matters to y'all. Now all of a sudden that he's taking advantage of it, you can't be mad at him for doing that. He's taking advantage of what y'all put in place. Y'all did this. Y'all made sales. Y'all made niggas look at sales. Y'all made that. Who did that song? I think it was Joe Buttons. He rapped for 15 minutes straight, I believe, or something like that. It's like 15 minutes. And he broke down everything. And he talked about the music industry, and he talked about numbers. I think it was Joe Buttons. He talked about the numbers. Yeah, I think it was Joe. Either way, y'all did this. You can't complain. Y'all don't have no problem saying that your boy has 100 hits. But now all of a sudden he's taking it and he's using that to go where his fans is at. His fans are females. So obviously he's going to go to where the females is at. That's what he's going to do. But again, you can't be mad at it because this is the monster y'all created. Everybody wanted to look at the numbers. Now that he's using it and taking advantage of it, now all of a sudden it's a huge issue. It's a problem now. Now he can't do that. Why would he do that? Like, well, this is what y'all asked for.
It's the game. He's just doing what sells. And if that remains the case, he'll always be held at arm's length by hip-hop. By contrast, this is also where Eminem thrived. But he had to learn the hard way that he had to find a sound of his own.
Eminem knows, unlike most other walks.
When you say people are doing things to sell, all these artists are doing that. They're all doing it. And a lot of them, they don't have their own original sound. They all doing exactly what you're saying, what y'all complaining about. I honestly think that because Jack Harlow was white, y'all have an issue with it. Because if Jack Harlow was black or if any other ethnicity, y'all wouldn't care. Y'all skip right over it. Or y'all would have praised him for it. I.e. your boy. He does that. He literally makes music cater to a certain demographic. And he's fake. And he's not original. But no one cares. Everybody praises him for it. Not everybody. But you know what I mean.
life that his skin color is actually kind of going to be a barrier to his goals. Nobody wants another corny white guy trying to be black and trying to rap. And he had to learn this the hard way with his first independent album, Infinite, which sold like 5,000 records.
Once Infinite flopped.
Well, Infinite flopped because Infinite, he wasn't really known then. Like, y'all got to provide some context. Infinite, he wasn't a big artist during Infinite. You know what I'm saying? He was not at all. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like his album flopped. He wasn't a big artist. He started becoming a big artist until after that, when he started doing all the radio appearances and shit like that. Then I believe Infinite was before Lyricist Lounge. I believe it was. And then he went to what was the album? I can't remember the name of the album before that. I mean, after that. Then it was the Marshall Mathers LP. I believe that was his first album. But he had an album before that. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know.
The Slim Shady persona was born, and the rest, as they say, is history. Similarly, this is a crucial difference to Mac Miller, who actively found his own niche in the game and was universally loved for it.
Instead of trying to take it and run with it, acting as if you came up with it or this fresh new idea that's just for you only, there's a respectful way to do it. And I think Mac Miller was probably one of the only few to be able to do that, and no one gave him for it.
While no one is saying that Jack Harlow isn't capable of doing something genre-bending in his own right, the problem was that where Mac and Eminem both pivoted in their career, Jack is now in the era of his career where he's a chart topper. And at that point, there's too many eyes on you to be risky and experiment in the same way. And unfortunately for white rappers, all it takes is one.
And this is what I'm saying, bro. Like, y'all complaining about it, and then at the same time, you're trying to debunk it. Like, look, you saying that he got all the eyes on him, but then you saying he can't be experimental at this point in his career. But then you saying, well, he's not original and he should be more experimental. Like, y'all confusing me. I don't understand it. It's like, what are we saying here?
Step and you're cemented into a space you can't get out of. For example, just look at Macklemore. Once Thrift Shop took off, he was seen as a commercial entity, and the subsequent album, The Heist, further solidified that. Then the unthinkable happened and he won a Grammy for Best Rap Album over Kendrick Lamar. But rather than embrace it, he apologized to K-Dot publicly and was immediately accused of pandering. And no matter what happens now, it's still the first thing people think of when his name pops up.
And I'm struggling with my own, like, damn, I'm benefiting from the system that I've been calling out since I was 20 years old. And here I am at the highest level of artistic merit, the Grammys, and here I am benefiting from the same that I've been talking about. So I was conflicted. People want.
That was dumb as shit for you to do. I'm just being honest. That was stupid. You should have took the Grammy and shut your fucking mouth. That was stupid. You know what I'm saying? And that to me is pandering. You know what I'm saying? And who you got on there? Who is that? Oh, hell no. Hell no. Hell no. Obviously, hell no. I would have never talked to that dude about it. That dude? Hell no. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That dude is extremely biased. Extremely. There's no way I would have talked to that guy. That guy right there. Unbelievable, man. No way. No way.
Say like, oh, it was guilt. He just feels guilty about being white. It's like, that's so surface level. Was there an air of that? Absolutely. Was that the reason? Absolutely not. At the forefront.
By saying that K-Dot's music was more worthy of the recognition than his, he basically openly admitted that he was merely emulating the culture, not advancing it.
That's like not admitting that. That's not admitting that. I don't believe that that's admitting that. I do believe he was pandering. He wanted to get, but I don't believe that that's admitting that he was basically exploiting it. No, I don't believe that. You know what I'm saying? I believe that he probably felt as though he probably got some backlash off of it because he probably knew that his album wasn't as good as Kendrick. You know what I'm saying? But I don't believe he was exploiting it. I don't know about that one.
Jack Harlow hasn't necessarily done anything to disprove that theory either. And now that the label understands his earning power, it's likely to be all take from here on out, whether or not that's his intention or not.
No matter how much a white rapper tries to be respectful and tries not to be harmful, the forces of capitalism and commerce at these corporations, they're going to use whiteness and that person as a spear to penetrate every other aspect of the culture. And even as they're just minding their business and trying to make art, the harm will follow them regardless of how hard they try to avoid.
You don't get that shit the fuck out of here. Listen, bro, they do that with every artist. It's not just white artists. And I would argue that they do it more with black artists. You niggas be putting these white artists as if like they're a special entity. No, bro, they all money signs. That's it. Jack Harlow is no different from Kodak Black and all these other artists. There's no difference. You know what I'm saying? If he could reach a wider audience over here, that's what they're going to use him for. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing with Kodak. If he could reach an audience over here, that's what they're going to use him for. It's the same thing with Ross. The same thing with any of these artists. For y'all to just put all the ownership or whatever on these white artists and say, well, look, they're industry plants and this is what the capitalism and this is what it does. No, I'm not rolling with that. Because the music industry is the music industry. They exploit everybody. They don't just exploit white artists. They exploit Japanese artists. They exploit Spanish artists. They exploit artists from India. They exploit any artist they can to make money. That's how it goes. It's always going to be like that. It's not just this thing where, guess what? Because it's not only white rappers who do hip hop. There's hip hop artists in Japan. There's hip hop artists in India. There's hip hop artists in Dubai. There's hip hop artists all over the world. So it's not just white rappers. That's what y'all not understand. They never been to the hood in Japan. I'm not saying it ain't no hard parts of Japan, but they dress exactly like black people. And you know what y'all do? This is exactly what y'all do. Y'all cheer it on. Oh, that's fire. Oh, this is fire. But they wearing black people's attire. They're doing all that. Looking like they're black with their scully on and with bomber jackets on, breakdancing, all that. But we don't say nothing to them about it. That's what I'm saying. You have to be fair across the board. You can't just blame everything on this guy. Everybody's using the component of hip hop. Everybody. Even your grandmother. There's a white lady who raps, and she's a granny, and she's from the hood. That's all I'm saying, bro. Shit crazy.
No matter how much effort is being put into the culture, no matter how much genuine talent is present in these white artists, their whiteness will always be the most important and valuable aspect of their art. It legit sucks for them.
That's to you, though. That's to you, because all his other fans don't care about that. It's like I'm not big on racism at all. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying he's racist, because I don't think he's racist. I think he's actually calling out what he sees. But for me, I'm not big on that, because I can't act as if like these corporations are not using people, period. That's what I look at. I don't give a fuck about whether he's white or black. He's being used as a pawn to get to the money. Has nothing to do with white, black, Asian, whatever. He's using it. And for y'all to say something about the music industry, these artists don't run the music industry. Y'all know this. Y'all know that the artists do not run the music industry. Y'all know that. Y'all know it's the labels, and the labels tell them what to do, and the labels have them by the balls. So you can't say, oh, well, this guy here, the way they plant him and put him in there. Like, no, it's not just him. It's everybody. They got all of them. Why you think that they don't revolt or go against the powers that be? They could, but they don't, because the music industry got them.
Hitmaker rather than a true hip-hop artist, Jack Harlow has been handed the baton by major labels to lead as the next big white artist. With his label eager to continue to drip-feed him hit songs, Jack finds himself in a tough spot. He can either follow the white rapper formula of guaranteed monetary gain, but risk being forgotten in hip-hop's history books, or he could dig deep, take a gamble on himself, and break away from the white rapper curse by producing a genuine genre-bending album. Only time will tell which path he chooses.
Yeah, make sure y'all go check out his channel. Yeah, man. That was a pretty good video. You know what I'm saying? I love videos like that. You know what I mean? Very passionate about it. I love videos like that. I disagree with a lot of things, but you know, we could always agree to disagree. But like I said, all this, oh, white rapper this, black rapper that, it doesn't matter. It don't. I'm just gonna be honest with y'all. It matters. The record labels look at money. If they can hire a black artist to do something and they can make money off them, that's exactly what they're gonna do. They're gonna push them whatever they could, and they're going off of what their demographic and what their fan base is asking for. So, for example, Ice Spice fan base don't ask her to be lyrical. Sexy Red fan base don't ask her to be a woman who has a 9 to 5. They want her to be Sexy Red. They want her to be who she is. You know what I'm saying? So you got to understand, they all getting exploited, all of them, not just white rappers. And the same thing y'all saying about hip hop being global and being the #1 genre. You got to understand what comes with that. You can't say, oh, well, he needs to be the better artist and needs to be a breakout star. But like, it's only a couple of those. It's only a couple of those. And one of them are white. You got Kendrick. You got Eminem, Jay-Z, Nas. It's only a couple of those in the history of hip hop. It's only a couple of those who are breakout stars who stand by themselves. The other ones are subjective to be copycats, or they're in that realm of copying. So I don't understand this whole thing when people say the thing about he needs to be more original and be all this. I get it. Yeah. Okay. I can agree with it. He could be more original, right? We can agree to that. But at the same time, a lot of artists should be more original, not just him. But it's very hard to be original. I ain't gonna lie. It's very hard to be original. It's very hard because if you are at that point, it's very hard to be original if you already at the top. Now you can't be risky, but y'all want him to be risky. But if he is being risky, you could say, well, he was doing too much. It's like, that's why I don't listen to critiques from like Pitchfork and Metacritic and all of them. Because you don't know if that other person on that other side is a biased critic or not. You don't know. They're supposed to give their honest opinion, but if they don't genuinely like somebody because of their hair, they can't give their genuinely honest opinion about the music. That's how I look at it. So you got to listen to it for yourself, and if you like it yourself, that's it. You know what I'm saying? But again, these outlets and these like writers and whoever they are, they look at artists in a different light than me and you look at artists. And again, they be wanting you not to like artists because they'll say, well, everybody thinks it's trash. And then you be like, what do you mean everybody? Me and my boys like this joint. You know what I'm saying? Nah, bro, everybody think it's trash because they talk to people in the office. And they've been in the office saying they ain't like it. So they'll give you their opinion. And since they are a reputable big source, then whoever's listening to them or reading from them, you know, they'll take their opinion as gospel. It's the same thing with Anthony Fantano, right? A lot of people hate Anthony Fantano's views rappers because they know that he has the power to shift their stuff. And that's the thing. But either way, man, thank y'all. Y'all have yourself a good night, man. I appreciate y'all sticking with me, man. Hey, man, listen, we ain't gonna always agree on everything. We agree to disagree. I just think that everybody's being used by the music industry, not just Jack Harlow. So, yeah, but all right, man, I'm out of here. See y'all. Peace. Bye. See y'all tomorrow morning.